Hello students, today we are going to learn Standard 10 English. In your textbook, lesson 2 is Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. The author is Nelson Dolilala Mandela himself. In this particular lesson, we are going to learn about apartheid. Now you must be thinking, what is apartheid? Apartheid is a political system that separates people according to their race. Now race means people having black and white color, rich and poor, high class and low class people. We are going to talk about South Africa. Now in this particular place, it had such a political system until very recently. Have you heard of Nelson Mandela? You can see him in this picture here. Let's learn about him. Mandela and his African National Congress, in short it is known as ANC, spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. Mandela had to spend 30 years in prison. Finally, democratic, that is self-governing, by people, for people, elections were held in South Africa in 1994. And Mandela became the first black president of a new nation. In this extract, now the lesson is taken from a big book and a small piece is taken from this. So it is known as extract from his autobiography, namely Long Walk to Freedom. Now in this, Mandela speaks about a historic occasion. Now what was that occasion? The inauguration. Inauguration means starting something new. Can you guess what the occasion might be? Here is the news item from the BBC of 10th May 1994. It says, Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president. Now here is the write-up of the news article. We are going to read it, which is given in your textbook. Nelson Mandela has become South Africa's first black president after more than 3 centuries. 1 century is equal to 100 years. That means 300 years of white rule. Now, why white rule was there? It is very important for us to know that earlier South Africa is known for precious gems, mines and diamonds. So the people, those who were ruling, they were white people and they had ruled them nearly 300 years. So Mr. Mandela's African National Congress party won 252 votes of the 400 seats in the first democratic election of South Africa's history. Now it was a very big, like a memorable history which we can ever know it. The inauguration ceremony that we have in school, swearing in ceremony of the leaders, took place in the Union Buildings Amphitheatre in Pretoria today, attended by politicians and dignitaries. Dignitaries means persons of high rank, like presidents, ministers and all, for more than 140 countries around the world. And Mandela said, never, never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another. Jubilant scenes, that means having party and celebrations on the streets of Pretoria followed the ceremony with the blacks, whites and coloreds celebrating together. More than 1 lakh South African men, women and children of all races sang and danced with joy. Now we are going to read the lesson, and it says 10th May 1994. It dawned bright and clear. For the past few days I had been pleasantly besieged, means surrounded closely by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater. Now, amphitheater is a building without a roof, with many rows of seats around it, sitting in steps typical of ancient Greece and Rome, which we can find them, formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. For decades, now 1 decade is 10 years. So for decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. The white people have been dominating the South Africa. And now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic and non-racial government. Now you can see rainbow means it has got 7 colors. Now when they are having this new government, the installation of it, you can see the people of different castes and creeds, people of different colors, high and low. Everybody is present for this ceremony. You can see here, this is a sandstone. You can find it in South Africa. It has got an ample. With one particular sandstone, a big rock type it is, you can make the whole monument of it. This is an amphitheater. You can see here, there are steps. This was a big amphitheater for the ceremony. Now this is what the installation ceremony took place. We can see here the first one on the top, second one, it is new one, and down. At that time the people were gathered. That gathering was seen here. Now on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zenani. Nelson Mandela explains that he had taken his daughter Zenani with him. Now, during May month, he speaks about autumn day. Now we must also know why he has written autumn day. Now in South Africa, it falls in the southern hemisphere, and there are seasons follow like this. First one is summer. It is 1st December to 28th or 29th February. Second is autumn or fall, when all the leaves from the trees are falling down. That is 1st March to 31st May. So the 10th May is included in this autumn season. Third one is winter, which is having 1st June to 31st August. And fourth one is spring, 1st September to 30th November. Now it is also very symbolic. Autumn season has a particular lessons to teach us. When all the leaves fall down, again there is a spring season and all the plants are covered with new leaves. So it's very symbolic that the white supremacy has been taken away, like falling down of the white supremacy, and now the new reign of black people has started. On the podium, that is a high raised stage, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. You can see here. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. Then Nelson Mandela says, when it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the Constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Now in this he says that today I am taking an oath and I am giving glory to God, and the hope which I had in God, that there is going to be freedom. Now it is a newborn freedom out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster. Now there have been, like South Africa have been the clutches of the white supremacy. So it has been an extraordinary human disaster, nearly 300 years. Now the new society has been born and the whole humanity is proud of this day. We who were outlaws means we were black and they were the white. Many countries had earlier broken off diplomatic relations with South Africa because of the apartheid. Not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Now he speaks about that he is thanking all the people, that we were outlaws, we were thrown away, and still today on this African soil which was captive for so many years, now today on this particular day there have been many distinguished guests coming from all the international, nearly 140 people came and witnessed this occasion. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. Emancipation is freedom from all the restrictions. If you are a captive, if you are not free, that means you are bound with something. So he speaks that it is restricted. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation of many of the benefits they did not get it, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. The main thing he touches here is never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Today he says that he has achieved what for years they were wondering about, that they want to have it. They wanted to, very desperate to get freedom. And today was the day. And he speaks that never again we shall have this kind of oppression. Oppression is like you boss over others from another person in your own land. So he says, let freedom reign, be there. Let freedom be in the power of Africa. God bless Africa. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array, an impressive display, colorful and attractive way of South African jets, helicopters and troop carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and a military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. These are the African jets who are flying on that day. The helicopters, troop carriers, military forces, all of them paid their homage to him. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and police, their chest bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by. Now he speaks about some days ago, these people, the defense force and police, those who are having the stars on their shoulders, ribbons and medals they were having, they were oppressing him because he was in a jail. Now these are the same people saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact he was aware of that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue and gold of the new South African flag. These are the bedecked. Here you can see. The jets made a chevron, a V shape, and flew in the sky. The day was symbolized for me by the displaying of two national anthems and the vision of white singing, Noxie Skelel Africa, and black singing their stamp, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. Now when there was white supremacy, white people were singing only their anthem. Black people, those who are in South Africa, they were singing only their anthem. But on this particular day, both the national anthems of white people and black people were sang together. And he takes very much pride in this, that the lyrics are not very clear to them, but I hope that one day they are going to learn these words by heart. On the day of inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 19th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade means it will be in 8 years. As a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. Now, this was the Anglo-Boer War. It speaks about the war. You can see the national flag. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifice of thousands of my people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. Now, unimaginable means you just cannot think about it. The sacrifices the South African people have made. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended, and now able to thank them, and that they were not able to see what their sacrifice had wrought. Wrought is like an achievement. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. Wound is like you get a hurt and the scars, some nishani remains on your body. So this apartheid created a wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound, which is very deep and strong hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sislers, the Chief Luthiers, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobokovs of our time. These are the people who were elected on that particular day to start a new government. These are the pictures of these great men. Men of such extraordinary courage. Now, when you are going to risk your life, you need to have extraordinary courage, wisdom, and a generosity that the like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Now he gives glory and praising the people, those who have given him the support, that they are very precious, more than minerals and gems and diamonds that lie beneath the soil of South Africa. These are the minerals we find in South Africa. There is a variety of minerals in addition to diamonds and gold. These are the precious stones. are the precious diamonds found in South Africa. It is from these comrades. Now he is talking about the elected members. In the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. If you have got some kind of idea in your mind, you have to have extraordinary courage and also learn to take risk in life. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing strength and resilience. Resilience is the ability to deal with any kind of hardship and recover from its effects that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he whom conquers that fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Opposite is hate. If you have learned to hate another person, you have to also learn to love another person. If to hate is easy to learn, then to love also is very, very easy. Even in the grimmest, in the worst times in prison, when my comrades, my friends and I were pushed to our limits, pushed means they were given unbearable punishments, I would see a glimmer. Like even in those darkest nights and days that he has passed in the prison, he is thinking that I have seen a glimmer, something good is going to come out of this, of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. If you keep a lamp under the bush, you cannot say that there is total darkness outside. Remember, flame can be like spreading the goodness and the beauty and throwing away the darkness. In life, every man has twin obligation. We all have got some kind of responsibilities, obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community and his country. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations or responsibilities according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated, kept away from other people. Why? Because he was going against the white people. He was voicing out that this is not good. So he was punished and kept away from his people. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family, kept away from his family and his home, and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not, in the beginning, choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. That means Nelson Mandela has not experienced any captivity during his childhood, because he says that I was very much free, free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast maize, that is a maize plant, under the stars, and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. When you obey your parents, the rules of the schools, or any rules which are according to your social norms, you will have no problem. But the day when you rebel, you go against it, then you will have problem. So it is better to obey the family members. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Illusion is something like you are thinking of, you are imagining that it is real, but it is not. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory, which was not permanent, freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I please, and go where I choose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, that is a place in South Africa, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential. Whatever capacity he had, that he has to get it, of earning my keep, to learn, to live his livelihood, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. That should be given to him, but that was not given to him on time. This is the place called Johannesburg. Why he speaks about it? Because it is native place. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, it was taken away, reduced, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. I was waiting for the freedom to get it. And in the same way, he could see it in the people of the Africa, that they also are wanting freedom. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. Now this is the political party that he had joined. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with a dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving man to live like a monk. Now here he speaks very clearly that he had a desire, and he could see that his people are not given that type of dignity or self-respect. And seeing this, his life was animated and transformed. This man who was very scared has become now bold. The one who was always abiding by the law has become like a now criminal because he is going against the people of the white. And that has turned that family loving man to live like a monk in the prison, to be alone. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. If my people are not free, that means I am also not free. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. The one who is bouncing on others or putting others into some kind of this illegal things also has to be freed, because unless and until they do not experience this freedom, they are not going to liberate other people. That's why he says that oppressor also must be liberated in order to leave the oppressed people. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. The person who is not free or a prisoner is also a prisoner of hatred himself. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. When your mind is prejudiced, that means you are already thinking beforehand, unless you have met or you have not met. You have heard about it and then you are thinking about the same thing. Oh, this person is like that or that thing is like this. So you are already giving your mind a kind of attitude that this thing is like this. So this prejudiced mind or the narrow-mindedness also is locked behind the bars. I am not only free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Now, if the person is put in the prison, that was already feeling that he is bound behind the bars. But the one who is outside the bars also is captive. He also is not free. Nelson Mandela says, we can change the world and make it a better place. It is in your hands to make a difference. So remember, what is your thought? Your thought has to be a good one. If your thoughts are wrong, you are also going to be a wrong personality. So better to have good thoughts, put it behind your back, yes, and put it in your heart also, so that you can be a better person in the future. In this lesson, we have learned about Nelson Mandela. He was known as father of the nation. In the same way, India has got freedom, and we owe our respect to Mahatma Gandhiji. Just as for India, Gandhiji is known as the father of the nation. In the same way, Mr. Nelson Mandela is also known as father of the nation for South Africa. So in this lesson, I hope we have learned to be free from our own mentalities, from some of the thoughts that makes us captives. Learn something good and learn to be good. If you have a good heart, you will work for the people. Don't be selfish. If Gandhiji had been selfish, then he would have never given us freedom from the clutches of Britishers. If Nelson Mandela had not been in the prison for nearly 30 years, I don't think that he would have imagined of getting freedom for himself and finally giving freedom to the people of South Africa. One person's one good thought can change the whole humanity. So we salute you for giving us freedom, and we thank you for keeping us away from all the captivity. And today, if we are breathing the freedom, it is because of this